Hi, this is Bobby Brown, and welcome to another fucking podcast.
Truly a sight to behold. The man beat the once great champ, now a study in moppishness. No longer the victory-hungry stallion we've raced so many times before, but a pathetic, washed-up, aged ex-champion.
All right, let's go.
I think you know the guy. And I think you know him pretty damn well. His name is
Izzy Presley.
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 What's my name? Say my name, bitch!
My good friend, Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley. Ouch!
Izzy Presley. Whoa, that sounds a little weird.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley, the heaviest, girthiest rock DJ around.
Hey, this is Jeff LaBar. You listen to Izzy Presley. Those aren't pillows.
No, Jeff LaBar, those are not pillows. Those are my ass cheeks. Hello, Las Vegas. Hello, world. Hello, my loyal minions. It is good to see you, and it's always good to be seeing the show as another fucking podcast. I'm your host, Izzy Presley. It's good to see you. In studio, I have Dario Lorina.
Yes.
I said it right.
Yep.
Yeah. From Black Label Society and his brand new band called Dark Chapel. Going to get into that in just a second. Make sure you guys do hit up all those socials at Real Izzy Presley all the way across the board. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. TikTok as well, and the Patreon. So you Patreon folks, you are getting this first. You're getting this today. Because, you know, you're paying for it. You should get it first. Ad-free and, of course, worldwide on Saturday. Just really quick before we get into Dario here. In November, there was the Las Vegas Guitar Trade Show here in Las Vegas at Silverton, and we are doing it again. I'm hosting the event. It is at the Silverton. It is May 30th through June 1st. So, and the great thing about this one, you can actually buy shit. Unlike NAMM, where you just go and go, okay, that's cool. All right, there's a lot of people. Oh, shit, drums. Fuck. You can actually buy shit and walk out with shit. It is fucking great. So in studio, got Dario Lorina from Black Label Society and Dark Chapel. The album is called Spirit in the Glass. It comes out on February 28th. The single Glass Heart has been out since November 8th. No, you've been with Zach since 2014.
Yep.
When did you start writing and for this? And when did this idea first come into your head?
Yeah, so I mean, I had this vision for Dark Chapel for a while, just as I was demoing songs and writing songs and singing songs. Because to me, it's like a continuation in a sense of the instrumental albums that I've done. Now I'm just putting lyrics and vocals in place of where a guitar solo would be during the verse. You know what I mean? So, but Dark Chapel has been like in the creation process for a few years. So maybe 21, 22 area is about when I started like putting it all together, and now we're at this point. Now it's, you know, I felt like it was ready to go.
Is it, so when you're writing for this, is it hard to not write like you're writing with Zach? And I mean, with the riffs and all kind of stuff to kind of bust out onto your own, what you like to do?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm just sitting down and writing, and whatever's coming out is coming out. So I'm not really, you know, I didn't have like a specific direction. I just was like, whatever's coming out is natural, you know what I mean? And as far as like the Black Label stuff, Zach's writing that. So,
right.
So that's, you know, that's his thing. So, you know, he'll send me a part and be like, you know, here's your solo section, do your thing to it, and you know, send it back. So that's how that process goes. But yeah, for Dark Chapel, I just sat down and wrote, and whatever came out.
Were you writing by yourself, or were you writing with the guys in the band?
So I pretty much like rough drafted all out. So I have a demo in Pro Tools, and the power just flickered there a little bit.
Yeah, just flickered a little bit.
Yeah, yes. Rain outside. But yeah, so I just demo it all out, rough draft it, and then I'll get the melodies, vocals, and everything rolling, and then you know, then we'll get into a jam room, and then it comes to life as guys put their feel and their parts on it. But as far as like arrangement with guitar and stuff, it's all pretty much for the most part there.
So like, there's a lot of guys like Richie Kotzen, for instance, that he writes and records everything himself. So but he'll have somebody come in every once in a while. For the bass and the drums, do you have an idea of what you want? Do you put it down and go like, play it exactly like this, or do you let kind of people have their free reign?
You know, I'm sure as guitar players, we all kind of hear the beat in our head that we're writing to. So you kind of mouth it out, and then the guy just runs with it, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
does his thing and adds his feel to it. So that's kind of how it is. Yeah, so same with bass.
Who do you have playing in the band?
So half the album I actually recorded a few years ago
Right.
when it was first getting going. So those were some friends of mine, phenomenal musicians, on a handful of the songs. And then as I was continuing to write, as it was coming together over the years, I had some other friends of mine, just guys here in Vegas. And then now completing the lineup with I have Mike Gunn playing bass, Louis Silva playing drums, and my friend Dylan Dice playing guitar. So yeah, so that's the lineup.
And you recorded the when you started working on it again. You recorded this over at the Count's place, right?
Yeah, let me think of the time frame. Yeah, the first half of it I did at Counts.
Okay.
Stony and Danny.
Stoney's the best. Yeah.
Yep.
And Danny's the best too. Yeah.
Yep. And I had killer engineer Fred working on it with me, and then when I came back to do it, I did the second half for the most part over at Ron Mancuso's
Okay.
Studio 77.
Yeah.
I did a lot of vocals there, and we recorded in his drum room, which was awesome. And then I finished some of the guitar stuff and some of the other parts over at Counts for the remaining rest of the album. But
And you had Mike Varney working on it, producing?
not on this one because
Okay.
I did two instrumental albums with
Right,
Mike
right.
in the
Okay.
past in 2013, 2017. But
Okay,
yeah.
so who produced this one then? Did you just produce it yourself?
Yeah, just self-produced.
Do you like working with the producer as opposed to doing it by yourself?
I actually have never really worked with a producer.
Okay.
I mean, for me, just as a musician in general, you kind of have a direction of what you're hearing. So I'm just putting it together, and then when we're in there, we're putting it together, and
Yeah.
everybody's kind of throwing in their idea as trying things out or whatever. But yeah, it's just I don't really think of the word producer because you're just like making music, and at the end of it, it's how you wanted it to come out.
Right,
you know?
right. Well, the reason I ask that is because like there's a lot of people that probably need a producer. Tell them, okay, that's wrong. Even though you have it in your head, then but they still do it themselves, and it would have came out better had they had somebody in their ear going, no, just take a listen to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is always nice to have sometimes an outside, ear to go, you know what, let's pull that delay back a little bit, or let's, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. The single Glass Heart's been out since November 8th. How's the response been to it?
Yeah, for Glass Hat, I think it was
Black Heart, sorry.
I think
Did I
it's
say
been-
house?
No, you're right. I think it's been great, and I was psyched for that one to be the first single because it kind of had a different vibe to it, and like when we were recording it, it was giving us like soundtrack to a movie kind of vibes.
Yeah.
So I was psyched on that one, and then now Hollow Smiles out, and that's like another totally a heavier feel,
Yeah.
And that's kind of the story of the whole album is like. I feel like there's a lot of different vibe on it. It can all fall under one umbrella. Like it all feels the same, but like, it starts in one place, kind of takes you somewhere else and ends in a different spot. So, yeah, I'm psyched on it.
How do you now? I know you. When did you start singing? Because I heard you on Tronky. You talked about how you started taking lessons from somebody. Were you singing before that? And did you have like Kotzen, for instance? Always comes back to Kotzen and Kiss for me. But like Richie, when he started singing, his voice was kind of based off Terrence Trent D'Arby. And if you hear Terrence Trent D'Arby, you hear Kotzen. But I also hear Kotzen in you. When you started singing, who was there I don't know, I'm trying to how do I explain this? Was there like a vibe you wanted to your voice, or was it just kind of this is just what it is?
So when I was a teenager, like 16, I was playing with Jani Lane. So I was
Right.
touring with Jani. And at that time, all I thought about was guitar playing, you know what I mean?
Right.
And at that time, for me, it was like thinking of a singer felt like, oh, singers just can open their mouth and like they sound amazing, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I just was like, oh, I guess I just play guitar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's all I was focused on. And when I was touring with Jani, he would always jokingly like, you got to learn to play slide guitar and you got to learn to sing. And that was like 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
Then I met somebody named Ron Feldman, who was a friend of Janie's, who was a vocal coach of his when he was younger. And this was after a show in Florida. And
Mhm.
he was like saying, all right, I'm gonna show you how to sing. You know what I mean? So it was like 11:30 midnight or whatever in my hotel room, and he's giving me like vocal lessons, like showing me hand on the chest and belly and how to breathe and whatever, and try to sing this scale. And I was horrible, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then after that, I met with him once a week on Skype, and he was just showing me like how to sing a scale and how to play the scale on the piano, and then like sing a verse of this song while you play the acoustic, and just working on it, developing it. And after that, it was just me working on it on my own, and kind of like I've written a ton of songs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of just demoing it and trying to sing on it, and demoing it and trying to sing on it. And that's now evolved into Dark Chapel years later. But as far as what I would, I love bluesy, a bluesy vibe,
Yeah.
and I love Motown and things like that. So I love that style of singing. And as far as Richie Kotzen, I listened to a lot of Richie Kotzen. He's he's phenomenal, and I love his style. And oh, nice, yeah. So he's amazing, and his songwriting and his feel and everything. So I definitely listened to a lot of Richie over the years.
How long did it take you to develop as a songwriter? Because some people it just comes, and then some people it takes a little while, and then okay, now I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably still developing.
I think we all are.
Yeah, it's probably the right answer. But I mean, it's something that you just are constantly doing, and there's probably 100 songs that are still in my Pro Tools. It's like out of those 100, I got this one, okay, and then in the next 10, I got this one, and then that becomes 10 of Dark Chapel, whatever. But writing for the instrumental stuff is still like those 2 albums in the past. Is still like I would consider that songwriting, because you're still arranging and structuring music, and coming up with melody. If you're gonna do, like on Death Grip Tribulations, I had a lot of chorus melodies happening. So, every one you do is just another sharpens the chops just a little bit. So, yeah, constantly, always still working on that. But yeah,
right. And vocally, did it come pretty quick?
Like singing on songs.
Yeah. Just learning how to sing, because again, it's the same thing. Some people it's just fucking natural, and there's a reason I have an Ace Frehley tribute band.
Yeah,
I just gotta fucking talk like this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, anything, just practiced and worked on it, and yeah. I mean, that's pretty much that.
Right. So the album comes out on the 28th. Has there been you seen any buzz? Felt any buzz around it?
Yeah, I think it's gaining some traction now. Now that we have that second single out, and
yeah.
I mean, pretty much 2 weeks from. I don't know whenever this comes out, but 2 weeks from tomorrow is it'll be out. But yeah.
And you guys, your first show, is it the first Dark Chapel show that's going to be here in Vegas?
Actually, yeah. So we did our first 2 shows a couple weeks ago, opening for Zach. Opening for the Zach Sabbath shows. So those were our first 2 shows as Dark Chapel, and then March 1st in Vegas at Vamped will be the album release show, because the album will come out the day before, February 28th.
Right. That
next night, Saturday night, March 1st, will be at Vamped.
And Don Jameson is coming out to kind of host that and do a little set. Is there any other bands on the bill, or is it just you guys and Don?
Yeah, just Don Jameson and then Dark Chapel. So it's going to be a fun night.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I tell you what, I do stand up too, and getting up and doing stand up in front of a rock crowd, especially when they're not expecting it, that's fucking tough. You want to talk about trying to set the fucking tone? It is tough. Don was out here a couple months ago, and he opened up for this Judas Priest tribute at Dive Bar. He's like, Izzy, go do your 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, you need me to set the fucking tone for you. I see how that is, What was the idea about having a comedian come out and do it instead of having a band?
I just thought it'd be fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Don's awesome. I just thought it'd be a good time.
Yeah. How long have you known Don?
I don't know if I could tell you, but I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
Just, because he's friendly with a lot of the Black Label guys.
Yeah.
And Brian Slagle.
Slagle's the best.
Now a Vegas guy. So, I've known Don for a long time.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a short break.
Yeah.
And we are going to listen to, if you guys get to see, it's a new bit on the show called Dating Tips from Pornstars. And this week it is Hazel Paige. I did a whole bunch of them at the AVNs here, and we'll be right back.
And now it's time for Dating Tips from Pornstars.
What is your name?
I'm Hazel Paige.
Hazel Paige. Nice to meet you. I'm
Nice to
Izzy.
meet you.
Dating tips with porn stars. Question number 1. We all know confidence is king. So taking that out of the equation, money, looks, or humor?
Ooh, this feels like fuck, marry, kill. So, okay, I'm gonna do fuck, marry, kill with those 3 options.
All right, I like it.
I think I'm fucking the hot guy.
Okay.
Because that's like a one and done.
Right.
You can like,
Right.
ooh, I gotta kill money or marry, like kill or marry money and funny. Ooh. I feel like I gotta kill the money and I gotta marry funny.
I like that. I like that. How important is it for the guy to make the first move?
I have a fairly like forward personality. So while it always feels good for the guy to make the first move, I like making the first move because I'm fairly like adventurous and out there and bubbly.
Do you think, well, this is kind of an offshoot of that question, in this day and age, guys don't seem as forward?
Yeah, I think people are really scared to make mistakes.
Right.
I think people are really scared to say something and get accused of something. And I say this a lot of like, I wish we all approached each other with a little more like goodwill and from a place of good faith and said, hey, we're all just out here trying to have a good time.
I love it. I love it.
Grace.
Can you smell desperation?
I can.
Do I exude it?
No, you do not.
Text or call?
Text.
All right. And how long do you wait to tell a guy what you do? Well, I know you've been in a relationship for 7 years.
I've been in a relationship for a long time with another porn performer. So
okay.
But I'd say it right away because if somebody's not going to be okay with that, that's his business. I think you're a dumbass if you're not okay with that. But I'm not going to waste my time on somebody who doesn't respect me or appreciate what I do.
Right. Okay. And lastly, where can people find you? What are your socials?
They can find me on Twitter at Hazel Paige XO. They can find me on Instagram at the Hazel Paige. And they can find me everywhere at bio.site/Hazel Paige.
Love it.
That was Dating Tips from Pornstars. Now back to another effing podcast with Izzy Presley.
Hazel Paige, Dating Tips with Pornstars. I gotta fucking love it. So you're obviously an East Coast guy.
Yep.
Where on the East Coast?
Boston.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Are you a sports guy?
I mean, sports I follow mostly would be like UFC or boxing or hockey.
Hockey, of course.
By default, definitely Patriots and Red Sox, of course, Bruins. But I don't follow sports too much.
Well, it's so much easier now because it's all on the internet.
Yeah. Highlights, you can catch them real quick.
Yeah. Well, I got Hulu, so I can watch my Minnesota Wild games,
Yeah.
It's just stupid shit like that. So,
I do watch all the pay-per-views, UFC and boxing cards, yeah.
How long have you been here in Vegas?
Since I was a teenager.
Okay.
My family moved out here to Vegas.
So as a teenager, back when Vegas was still kind of Vegas, it's really losing its luster now because they're just, shanking us locals. But what was it like as a teenager living out here?
So I lived kind of, not close to the Strip.
Yeah.
So more out in the desert. But it was, it's a cool place to be as a teenager because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There was always cool bands coming through when they had the joint at the Hard Rock.
Yep.
There were bands, all kinds of cool bands coming through. So that was a good time.
So you joined Jani Lane at 16. How long have you been playing guitar before that?
Yeah. So
when did you start?
I started when I was 6.
Okay.
Playing guitar. Just, my family was musical and I was into music and they got me a guitar and I just pretty much ran with it.
Who was the guitar player that really made you kind of want to go to that next level? Was there somebody you just heard is like, holy fuck, that's it?
Well, I was a kid in the 90s. So
yeah,
I was young in the 90s. So when I would hear driving with my dad and hear Van Halen, fishing through the glove box, pulling out tapes, that Van Halen one was at 5 or 6, 7 years old or whatever, was like magic coming through the speakers. Like, if I play guitar, how do I make it sound like that? You know what I mean? So that was my number one. And then, I loved all that music that was happening at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I was, my root was like 70s, 80s guitar playing,
Yeah.
guitar driven stuff. But then I loved like, they had these cool radio stations in Boston, I think WAAF and like 94 HJY, and they were all, Alice in Chains, Metallica, and, all the stuff that was happening at that time. So I loved all that. But Eddie was my guy, and then I discovered like, of course, Zach was
Right.
a number one up there, but like Warren DeMartini and
Oh, yeah.
George Lynch and
Oh, yeah.
John Petrucci was big for me because Dream Theater was like my first, discovery of prog.
Right.
So, and I spent a lot of like time with his Rock Discipline book, like in my later years when I could understand what all that actually, how to use all that, or try to use all that. But yeah, those are some of my guys. Paul Gilbert for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like Johnny Winter and John Sykes and all those guys.
Is it tough for you to not try to not overplay?
You know what? I just play.
Yeah.
Whatever's coming out, or I'm just whatever's, I'm playing for the song, or I'm whatever song I'm working on, I'm just writing for the song without any thought. I'm just kind of, when I listen to the whole thing as a cohesive, piece, it's like, does this all work together? Yeah.
When did you get on Mike Varney's radar?
Trying to think of the time frame. I think it was maybe either I was playing with Jani or right before I was playing with Jani. I was young teenager,
Yeah.
14, 15, 16 years old, somewhere around there. And I forget exactly how, but I remember meeting Ron Mancuso around that time.
Yeah,
and,
Ron's a great guy.
And Mike was a Vegas guy happening, and I had just moved out here to Vegas, and I was playing guitar, and I would play some shows around town when I was like, just coming up. Like I would sit in with like the Sin City Sinners, who were an awesome band around that time.
Yeah, Brent Muscat, yeah.
And I think Mike came out to a few of those, if I'm remembering correctly. And then, yeah, just we kept in touch, and I would send him songs that I was working on. And then, at that first album, 2013, I was playing with Lizzy Borden at that time.
Yeah.
It was after Jani, and I was like, cool, yeah, let's make an album happen. And then that's when I met Mike. Yeah.
So how did the Jani Lane thing happen? Because 16 years old, you don't expect to be going on the road with, this guy that was a fucking icon in the 80s. You know what I mean?
So, I was playing guitar since I was young. And when I got into middle school, that's all I thought about was playing guitar. I just thought I was going to be a guitar player. Like, if I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to play football, I'm going to do whatever. I thought guitar playing. So, like in the summers, or I'd come home from school, do homework, play guitar. And then in the summers, I'd wake up, play guitar. I'd walk across the hall, play guitar, and that all day. And my dad would be like, you got to come down and have dinner. And then I did that all summer. So, so MySpace was big at that time.
Oh yeah, MySpace.
And and I saw an ad on the bulletin board that Jani was looking for a guitar player. And being, I loved like the 70s, 80s guitar, rock, metal that was happening. So I was into that. And I sent a bunch of emails to this contact in that ad on the bulletin board. And they got back to me. And we started going back and forth, and like, well, we'll have you record some Warrant songs and send them over to us. So I recorded the Warrant songs. I panned my guitar on one side and the song on the other side.
Yeah.
And they dug it. So like, why don't you just come out and we can have you jam with Jani? And I met him in a rehearsal room in Hollywood, and he played drums because he was an awesome drummer.
Yeah, he was. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, and I didn't know that at the time until we were in that room, and he was jamming and singing like Uncle Tom's Cabin, and we were,
wow,
he's playing drums and singing, and we were just jamming on those Warrant songs. And a few weeks later, we were out doing it. So
were you geeking out a little bit on the inside?
I'm not sure if I was. When I think back, I was young. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why I asked, because you're a fan of the music, and all of a sudden you're playing with fucking Jani Lane.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I realized like the extent. I was just like hyped on playing guitar and jamming and playing songs that I, were familiar with. And
did you have a cocky attitude at all?
I wouldn't say so.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good, because you're 16 years old, and all of a sudden you're that fucking good then you get this, you get this gig. So it's like every once in a while, somebody like that will get a chip on their shoulder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say so. I was just wide-eyed, open-eared, just psyched to be out there. And those guys, in the band were
Yeah,
awesome.
and you played with Troy Patrick Farrell.
Yeah, exactly. That was like when I first started playing with Jani, he was the main drummer.
Yeah.
And then later on, it became Mike Fasano. But yeah, Troy was who I started with, and we were rehearsing together, and Troy was awesome. And those guys took me under their wing, you know what I mean, as big brothers. So I definitely learned a lot.
Troy, definitely one of the best set of hair in rock and roll, and the best smelling hair in rock and roll.
Troy was awesome, and now he's a Vegas guy, and I see him everywhere, just randomly. But yeah.
Yeah, he plays with my Israeli tribute every once in a while.
Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's nice. A lot of fun. So you move on from Jani to Lizzy, and how did that transition happen? Was there a time in between the two, and then how did you get on Lizzy's radar?
Yeah, so after Jani, I had a band rolling, and then we did a festival. We played Rocklahoma. We were doing a few things, and then a mutual friend of myself and Martin Anderson, who was the bass player for Lizzy at the time, had said Lizzy Borden's looking for a guitar player, and Lizzy's music, he's had awesome guitar players along the way. You know what I mean? So that was a very exciting thing, and so I started talking to Martin, and then he's like, same kind of thing. Well, why don't you come out to LA and we can jam, and we'll go from there. So I learned some Lizzy songs, went out there, and we jammed in their room in Hollywood, and that went fast.
Were you familiar with Lizzy before that? Because he's not. I love Lizzy to death, but he's not exactly a household name.
Lizzy's awesome,
but he's phenomenal. I'm old. I discovered him on fucking Headbangers Ball, and then in the Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, the metal years. That's how I knew of Lizzy Borden. And he didn't have a lot of like Me Against the World was on the radio a little bit here and there, but so was he on your radar? Were you familiar?
I was familiar a little bit. I wasn't familiar with his whole catalog.
Right.
And as I started learning it and digging, it was like, wow, this stuff is awesome. But yeah, no, that was learning that was challenging as a guitar player, and it was an awesome thing because those players were awesome.
Yeah. What challenges you?
When I was learning that at that time, there's anything that you're learning as a guitar player that, we all have you have your certain patterns and your certain licks and shapes, or a picking technique that is like a muscle memory thing. So anything that is different at first, it's like, oh, let me get my head around that for a second. You know what I mean? But then that helps you grow your chops. So, learning that stuff was awesome.
And this is being able to find tab anywhere on the internet for whatever fucking song you want. So you pretty much had to learn this all shit by ear, right?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I probably learned a lot of it by ear. And I think a couple of years into the band, the drummer Joey gave me oh yeah, we have this tab book, like a Lizzy Borden, like a pro tab book. Like, oh, I could have used this 2 years ago. But yeah.
Yeah, but it's so funny though. A lot of that shit's not usually right.
You're always using your ear. Sometimes it helps give you an idea or a placement, oh, maybe it is
right
part of the scale rather than the same scale other end of the neck or whatever. But
yeah, it's for instance, I still play Ace's part in Detroit Rock City different than Ace plays it. It sounds the same.
Yeah.
But that's how it was in the tab book, and that's how I always played it. Now I can't play it the other way.
Yeah, now you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the best story I ever had about tab is I went to see Queensryche, and Michael Wilton passed me up backstage afterwards, and I asked him, it's like, first time you saw your shit written out in tab, was it right? He just looked at me, he goes, no. So it's just pretty fucking wild stuff. What else do we got here? So you moved on from Lizzy. Of course, we have to talk about Zach. How long between Lizzy? Because it was after Lizzy you did your stuff with Varney.
Yeah. So after Lizzy, well, during when I was playing with Lizzy,
that's when Varney.
Yeah, I had that first instrumental album come out, which was 2013.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Blasco, who manages Black Label, but I was talking to him just about that instrumental album. I was emailing back and forth with him. And then it was just it just happened to be the time that Black Label was looking for a guitar player.
Yeah.
Which was, that was to jam with Zach was very exciting.
Right,
So,
right,
like,
right.
Yeah,
Did you get starstruck then? Because I mean, this is fucking Zach Wild.
Again, I was just psyched. You know what I mean? Like they, same kind of process, but I recorded videos instead of just audio. So like,
Yeah.
I did. Blask was like, well, do some videos and send them out to us, and I recorded playing some Black Label songs and also some of Zach's Book of Shadows. Like I was singing and playing acoustic, just sent a few of those over. And then a couple weeks later, they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you come out and meet Zach. So, I mean, I had met Zach very casually out here and there, but that was like, I could say my first time officially hanging with him and talking with him. And, we didn't play because he saw the video. So we just kind of hung out and, that was 11 years ago. So, here we are.
What was, you said you had met him before that, but was there like any expectations of how you thought he was going to be compared to how he was?
I'm not sure. I mean,
we all have perceptions about what these fucking rock stars that we look up to are like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's just been awesome and so cool from the very beginning since I started with him. So, yeah.
How has that run been?
Been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've done a lot with him and it's awesome.
And then because of what he's doing right now, how long until do you think is until we see some more Black Label stuff?
There'll be stuff, but I think next year. Probably more. Yeah.
All right. And until then, you guys make sure you check out that Dark Chapel record. Pre-order it. Is it available is it just streaming, or do you have CDs, vinyl, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's physical. So we have vinyl, we have CDs, and there's a few variants in the vinyl. And then it'll be streaming on whatever, wherever you listen to music, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever. It'll be everywhere.
No cassettes?
No cassettes. Yeah.
People are doing cassettes.
Yeah. No, that'd be a cool thing. I think the Doom Crew Incorporated, the last Black Label album, we had a cassette also. But vinyl, CD, and digital for Dark Chapel. And
people want to get that. Where can they get that?
So you can go to darkchapelband.com, and that'll link you to everywhere.
Sounds great. And they want to find you on socials and the band on socials?
Yeah, just Dark Chapel Band on everywhere, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, and just my name at Instagram or wherever, you'll find that also.
All right, man. I love it. Dario Lorina, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Check out that record, and if you're listening to the audio, you're going to hear a little bit of Glass Heart as we're going out. If you're watching the video, you're getting the regular outro. So, because I don't want to get tagged. I do not want to get tagged. We'll see you guys next week, and on the Patreon, you'll probably have about 3 more shows before you get another show like this. So thank you guys very much. My name is Izzy Presley, Dario Lorina. What I lack in talent, make up for in the cock.
Can we play Hollow Smile?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
Hollow Smile. There you go.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
All right.